And back to what I was saying. I am working with a human soul, a human being's thoughts, wills, desires, emotions, their character, their personality. Thank God that I get the privilege to shepherd souls into a wellspring of healing, of wealth and knowledge and understanding the human soul and the way that God designed us to live in understanding ourselves. Thank God I have the privilege to do this. I have the privilege to minister and to teach every single one of you. And I have the privilege of having you put your soul and your trust in my hands and your heart in my hands. And I get to take that and I get to put it in healing water and give it back to you. That is an honor. And I would be, I I can't even wrap my head around how anybody would ever, it just blows my, I'm speechless. That who am I? I should have been in prison before Jesus found me. I was a complete wreck. I was a mess. I was an abominable man. I didn't even deserve to live under my own mother's roof. I was an evil man. And I hated myself. And I woke up every day and I looked in the mirror and I hated what I saw. And every single day I had thoughts of maiming my own face and ripping my face. I hated myself. I felt disgusting. I never harmed myself physically. And yet, I hated what I saw. And I hated myself. And I hated the fact that I hated myself so much that anger was so overwhelming and volatile it spread to everyone around me. And I was angry with everyone and I wanted to love people and I hated at the same time. And I desperately wanted to be kind and I was rude at the same time. And I tried complimenting people and I was selfish and so focused on what I could get at the same time. And I wanted to be calm, and yet I would explode and get angry with people frustrated for whatever reason, for whatever petty reason. And I would participate, and I wanted peace, and I didn't want to argue, and at the same time I would argue with people. And I hated how duplicit I was. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. That is James chapter 5. Double-minded man is unstable in all he does. He is like a wave tossed to and fro, here and then there. He's all over the place. He's not stable, he's not consistent, he's not constant. I should have never been able to even preach the gospel. I should have been in prison. And not because I killed anyone or did anything like that, for not ever having a job. I have to be careful how much I say. Before Jesus found me, I was a fornicator, and I was a liar, and I was a thief. I didn't steal from the stores, that's not what I'm talking about. But in the pure aspect of taking something without asking, whether it be a quarter from the quarter jar without telling my mother or having her permission, she wouldn't have cared. But the fact is, I took. I was a liar, I was a blasphemer, I was a fornicator, and I had coveted, I had lusted, I had cursed, used God's name in vain, I had committed false testimony, I was a liar, and I'd never been drunk, but I thought pretty well of myself. I'm like, compared to those, people who were drunkards and using women like slaves, at least I'm trying. That makes me way better. I'm not like them. I am not like them. That's what I kept telling myself, but I still hated myself. Didn't take the pain away, didn't solve the problem. And I won't use names, but when I fell, she said she was pregnant after she had left me. And if she had that baby, I couldn't pay for child support. I couldn't pay for anything. I didn't have my license, didn't have a job. I was a mess. I was nothing but a crybaby. I didn't even deserve to live under my mother's roof, and I was useless. I was useless to myself, and I was useless to the world around me. And yet, I fell on my knees, and I remember that day so clearly because I saw in my room the physical ceiling opened up, and I saw Jesus in my room that day. And I said, God, if you can find it in your heart, I know I screwed up. I don't deserve anything. I'm willing to accept whatever punishment comes my way. But if you can find it in your heart, please give me another chance. And I can't remember how many chances I asked for up to that point. Probably 20-something. No, I asked for way more than that. It was definitely over 50. Over 50 chances. And I said, if you can find it in your heart, give me another chance. And I heard the audible voice of God, and thank God he's called me to be a prophet, because now I get to share his word with everybody. I heard the audible voice of God, and I physically saw the heavens were opened up. There was a bright golden light, and it clothed me in my room, and I saw Jesus in his white robe, just like described in the book of Revelation. Yes, he had holes in his feet, in the soles of his feet, and he had holes in the palms of his hand, and he not in the center of the palms. These palms and the wrists of his hands. He came and put his hand on my back, and he said, you are forgiven. And in 3 days, all the anger in my heart was gone. I met her at the mall, and I said, I hate what you did to me. It was wrong. She cheated on me and never let me know. And we were engaged. And she kept the ring. It was terrible. And met with her at the mall. She had a miscarriage after Jesus forgave me. 3 days later, all the anger in my heart was gone, and I had a lot of healing to do, but I wasn't bitter anymore. The bitterness was gone, and I could start to heal anew. And I met with her at the mall, and I said, I hate what you did to me. It was wrong, and I didn't deserve it, but I forgive you. And I was seething, and I was crying, and I said, you... And it felt like the world was lifted off of my shoulders. I felt like this pressure inside that I've been carrying so long was just gone. I was free. I was a free man, and I was not going to be burdened by my chains of unforgiveness any longer. And thank God I'm free. And if she didn't have that if God didn't cause her to have that miscarriage, both of our lives would have been ruined. But I wouldn't even be here talking to you. None of you, if not for the grace of God, none of you would be benefiting from this right now. You'd all still be hurting too. Still trying to figure it out, hoping someone, somewhere, or God directly will give you the answer. And thank God that he showed me grace. His grace to me was not without effect. And here I am, and I gave my life to him that day. The life I now live, I live to Christ. I fast. I gave up everything I had. I would read 25, 53 chapters a day sometimes. I spent my day, every moment of the day, praying and worshiping God and seeking his face. And it changed me. And the grace of God changed me, and I am telling you, you cannot heal. You cannot take anything from my videos except head knowledge and a bit of personal application. You cannot take anything until you give your life to Jesus. Until you receive that same grace and your heart is changed, you will never, ever be able to get over the fact that you don't like yourself. You can learn to love yourself, but you will always feel that inkling of distaste with the person that you were or have become in one way or another. It's not going away. You think it's natural, you think it's normal, and over the course of time you say, this is just who I am. Without ever asking why you never were able to stop. The answer, you're a slave to sin. You can't stop. And there is no hope aside from the divine application of grace to set you free from that slavery. But the day you stop being a slave to the words of your mouth and a slave to your own carnal ambitions, I will bow and say that you are God. But guess what? You'll never be able to. And I can say with utmost confidence and call God as my witness, you'll be a slave to sin until the day you die, unless you give all power and recognition over to God and say, I can't stop. Help me, save me. I can't. I don't want to be condemned. I don't want to condemn myself, and I don't want to condemn others. And this bitterness and this anger and this sorrow is a vicious cycle, because the anger gets turned inward. And guess what, guys? Anger turned inward is depression. This is proven. So what do you think happens with all that anger that you had towards yourself? Where does it go? Where does that distaste? I feel disgusting. I can't believe. I feel ashamed with myself. Where does that go? Where does all that anger go? At yourself. You want to get rid of your sorrows. Take it to the cross. You want to get rid of your sorrows. Get a heart of flesh. Get rid of the stony heart. Maybe you don't have a stony heart. Maybe you're just hurt. Take it to the cross. You want to get rid of the sorrows that you feel about yourself and about the world around you. You want to get rid of the depression. You want to get rid of the bipolar type 2. By the way, I had depression. I was diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, bipolar, manic depression. I had real high, then real low. The world was unstable to me, and I was unstable in the world. You want to get rid of the depression. You want to get rid of the anxieties that come with that depression. Wondering when the next person's going to hurt you, take it to the cross. You want to get rid of the feelings of bitterness that take away your joy, and all of a sudden, Call of Duty, I just hate this. I'm so done with it all. You want to get rid of that empty feeling that you felt when you threw that controller, or whenever you slam that TV down, or that anger didn't satisfy you. It just left a hole in your stomach. You want to get rid of that anger? Take it to the cross. You are a slave to sin until the day whenever you finally are set free. And until you're set free, you're never going to be healed. There is one way, one truth, and one life, and that life is kept from you until you live. You're not alive. You can say it yourself. You can feel it under your skin. You can feel it in your bones. You're slowly dying. So you tell me how you are alive. You tell me how this sorrow, this disgust with yourself is living at all. You tell me, explain to me how that is possibly living. If having thoughts, see, we don't talk about it. Everyone thinks it. Everyone who is a slave to sin thinks it because they're disgusted with themselves. Suicide. We don't talk about it. Everyone who is a slave to sin thinks it. And some people go through with it. I will never, no one on the earth can convince me otherwise. Every single person on earth has thought about it. We don't talk about it because we want people to think we're normal. We don't want people to think that we need help, because then they're going to walk out on us and leave our lives, and that's just going to leave me in a worse place, and I want to be loved. So you keep it a secret, and then you silently suffer, and you hate yourself as a result. Every human on earth goes through this, not just you INFJs. You tell me, explain to me how that is living. If that's what life is, kill me now. I don't want any part in it. Good news, it's not. It is the result of death in the human body, in sin, and the curse of sin, which is why we are slaves to it. The root of your sorrows, INFJs, comes from sin. And it comes from your own frustration and dislike of your own character and of yourself. And it comes from your past actions, and that cannot be revoked. For those of you INFJs who are out there, show yourself some grace. Show yourself some grace. If we had the potential to not screw up in the first place, Jesus would have never had to die. Show yourself some grace. I'm going to make a part 4, because part 4 is going to be the grace episode. Part 4 is going to be the closing. I'll be right back.